Kelsey, first, if you could just introduce yourself, just kind of give our girls a little bit of like an introduction to who you are and everything, and we can kind of just go from there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for changing the time too. That was totally my fault, y'all. Okay. So don't blame Cheyenne for that, because that was definitely my fault. I am a hot mess express. So I started this business 5 years ago, honestly, just for some extra hair and nail money. And I just wanted to honestly breathe a little bit. And I felt like we were doing okay. And from the outside world, it might have felt like we were doing everything we were supposed to be doing, but it didn't feel like that was it for me, and it felt like, okay, well, we're doing all the things. Both me and my husband had a job, we had our degrees, like we did all the right things, but it still felt like for some reason it doesn't feel like enough. And when I opened my eyes to it was when I went into corporate America, like my corporate job, and I had asked for a raise and they denied me a raise. And I remember being like, what? You just gave me all of these like A+ reviews and remarks and all of this stuff, and then here you are just telling me that like it's not in your budget. Like that feels like unfair, and I don't know what else I can do. And I think that at that moment, it was like I had to look outside of what I was doing, right? I had to look outside of just making one source of income. And I found this article and it said the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. And I was just like, dang, well, I need to be doing something different. And so that's kind of when the ball started rolling in my head to be open to looking, because before that happened, I would have never done something like this. I would just been like, oh, that's for people who don't have degrees. That's for people who can't get real jobs. Like I was like so judgy about it and so rude about it. But now knowing what I know, it's like, dang, like this is such an opportunity. So anyways, I hopped in, I went Ruby in 3 months, and then went Diamond the next month after that. And then kind of promoted like double, triple. And then 18 months later went Prez, and then went ambassador about 6 months after I went presidential. So it's been a crazy ride this year, in whatever day it is, on April 10th. It will be 6 years in the business, which is insane. I'm like a grandma. I feel like I need a cane. And so it's like just craziness. And it feels like part of it feels like it was yesterday. And then part of it feels like I don't even remember what life was like before I started this business. So it's been so fun. So I'm excited to chat with you guys tonight.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. I've been keeping this a secret, and I told them this morning, and they are all so excited. But I guess this kind of a random question, but just kind of going on your story. I've been in this business the longest out of these people outside of you. So I've been in this for about 3.5 years, and I have never seen the type of like just the momentum that we're seeing right now. And so for you being in this for almost 6 years, like what would you just kind of like touch on, I guess, for like this momentum right now? Do not miss out on that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is like, you have to like be running to feel the momentum. Like the wind can be really strong, but like if you're not running, or you're not riding in your car, or you're not doing something, like you don't feel it. And so if you don't feel it, like she feels it, it's because you're not doing it. Right. And I think that everybody's like, oh, what's this momentum that people are talking about? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if you're not doing it, you're not going to feel what she's talking about. And so you have to really start running in order to feel the momentum, because it's almost like a wave, but you have to be in the ocean. Right? Like you have to be out there. You have to be having it to where you're riding it. And it starts with you. And so I would just say, like, do what you can with what you have. Like start right now, go for the promotion. Like, what are you having to lose? Like, that's one thing I've never understood. And I think has probably worked to my advantage in this business is like, I've never really been somebody who's like, oh, well, let me overthink 1,000 things. Like, I'm just like, oh, she told me to do this. Like, okay, I'll figure out a way to do it. And if you get stuck in like how, you'll get stuck, because there is no answer. If you ask any ambassador, like, how did you get ambassador? They're going to be like, I don't know. I blacked out that month. I just worked really hard, right? I just did whatever it took. Like, I feel that way about every promotion that I've had. It's like, what did you do? It's not one thing. I just did everything that I needed to do to make it happen. And I think that there are some times when you still do everything you can and it doesn't happen. But that doesn't mean that you stop. That doesn't mean that your best wasn't enough. It just, you didn't have enough momentum yet. You didn't have enough gas in the tank to start with to keep it going, if that makes sense. And so I think that with momentum, it's just one of those things, like, you don't want to miss it, because when you miss it, it feels just so much harder. Like weight climbing up the hill and like you're treading water when you're working just as hard. And now it's like your work is going to pay off even more than it does any other time if you start working right now. And so it's kind of silly to not do it. And I honestly feel like right now I'm not going to say easier, but it's more simple than it ever has been to be successful. I think for me, because right now video content is king. Video content rules and outbeats everything. Okay. And it also takes the least amount of time. I will tell you, I can't even tell you the amount of times that I like huffed and puffed and sat in a corner about how long I had to write this freaking post. And I didn't want to write the freaking post, and I didn't want to edit the freaking pictures, and I didn't want to do any of it. Okay. Like, how many times have you just been like, I don't know what to post. I don't want to edit the picture. I don't have any content, like blah, blah, blah. Now, all you have to do is just freaking put a filter on and talk on your story. Like, it's so simple. Versus trying to get this perfect caption with the perfect filtered picture, with the perfect editing and the spacing of the lines. Like, it felt like, oh my God, like this is very technical for me. Okay. Like, I don't like to do all these steps. Like, just tell me and I'll do it. But it also makes it so much more authentic. And the reason why videos are helping our business is because it speeds up the time in which you can build a relationship. Right? Like, before it was like, oh, you have to like take some time with your followers, like interact with them and to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if they go to your story one day and they don't feel like they can know you, then you're not doing it right. So you have permission to message anybody who's following you if your stories and reels are good. Right? Because like, they can get to know your personality in one hot second if they go to your page and they see you. And because here's the thing, our posts are still going to be pretty. We don't have to do them as much. I mean, I used to do like 3 posts a day. And now it's like, I just be good with one. I'm good with one a day, because I'm doing reels and because I'm on my stories and people are seeing that. But I still put my best foot forward on my post, because you want that one picture to be good, right? You don't want it to be sloppy. You don't want it to be a hot mess, but it's hard to build authenticity when you're only putting your best foot forward. So the stories allow that behind the scenes access kind of into your life, and almost creates it to be like your own little reality show. And so like, I always put like the bloopers and the crazy things on there because I think that that's so important.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing I also heard recently too was kind of talking on your stories. I try and do this on my posts, but I never thought about doing it with my stories too. But talking to your stories, if you're talking to one person. So like, I know for myself, like, I'm like, good morning, y'all. Like, hey, y'all. Like, I always just like add in everyone. And I noticed that like, once I actually started just saying like, hey, good morning, and like more or less just like talking to you versus talking to everyone, I've just like had more interaction on my stories, just people swiping up and being like, I love this so much, or like, I love your shirt, like not necessarily potentials or anything like that, but that comes with time, So I love that you said that so much, because that is so true. So just going into the questions that I had sent you, because I know we have quite a bit tonight, but one of the biggest things, and I know some of these questions kind of tie into one another. So if you wanted to like kind of compile them, that's totally fine. But essentially, what are those first steps that you take after a new distributor? Like, once they understand the basics, they get dirtless, they understand posting, host post, etc. What is that next step you do to get them going to the like next part? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think you guys probably have a really good like system. Okay. But this isn't a system business. This is a relationship business. And I think that I could have the worst system in the world, and I actually probably do, but I'm really good at building relationships. And that's what allows me to be successful. Because like, for me, I don't want to put somebody in a system if they're not ready to go into that system. And that pace isn't going to be for everybody. And so I think that like I've tried for 6 years to figure out what the best system is. And the reality is the best system is to be flexible and to not put a timeline in a system on everybody, because not everybody's going to need those things, depending on their background, depending on how much they've done before, depending on how many followers they have, depending on all of this. Like you can't put everybody in a box. And so I think for me, like, I like systems. And I think that there is a time and a place for them. Okay. Don't hear me say that I don't think they're valuable, because I do, but it's almost like a script. Use it as like a template. It's not law. It's just an idea of the things that you need to cover. But what if you cover host a post before you cover posting? So what? Right? What if you cover like adding to your network before you cover something else? Like it doesn't really matter, because the reality of it is everybody is going to go at their own pace. And if you're not flexible, they're going to feel judged by you. They're going to feel like it's not good enough or it's too much, because you're putting your expectation on them. When really the whole reality is going at, hey, what do you want? Okay, if that's what you want, then let's talk about what it's going to take. Does that still mean that's what you want? Does that make sense? And here's the thing is, you guys, like, people are like, well, what would you say it takes to go Ruby? I'd make it up. Like, I don't have a formula. Like, I know what a Ruby chart looks like and stuff, but like, I don't have a formula, like every single thing. If you do this, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, like that's for sure going to be it. And I don't even know the specific numbers. But what I do know is, if I say with confidence, you know what it's going to take for you to go Ruby? It's going to take you posting to your story once a day, uploading a new reel every day, messaging 25 people a day. And it's going to be all, and I just name off these things that I do every day. And they're like, okay, if I do that, then I'll do it. Because I know that they are going to have a lot of success if they do that. Do I know if it's going to be Ruby or Emerald or Diamond or Executive? No, because everybody starts at start, and everybody's start is different. However, I do know that I want to give them confidence in what they're doing, and knowing that if they do this for 60 days consistently, they will be successful. Right? Now, does that mean they have to be perfect? No, because guess what? There's going to be days when then after I have that little talk with them about what it's going to take, right? And they're going to ghost me, because they're not going to do it one day. You know what? They're going to feel like, I don't know what to say to her. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call them. I'll be like, hey, how are you feeling about everything? And they're going to be like, I just feel like I can't get listen, that is normal. Drop a 1 in the comments. If you feel like you can't get everything done every day, drop a 1 in the comments. But we don't normalize that, do we? We don't make that okay. Hey, guess what? You can mess up a time on a Zoom and still be a good leader. Hey, guess what? You can miss a day of not messaging and not getting up 11 million hosted posts and still be successful. How can you do it 12 days in a row? Nah, girl, you're pushing the envelope, okay? But we have to give ourselves grace, and then show other people grace. And we cannot show other people grace until we give ourselves grace. And if you feel like you get frustrated with your team very quickly, it's because you get frustrated with yourself very quickly, and you don't have fun in the business. And so we have to stop taking ourselves so seriously. Like we do. Like, this is not a pass fail every single day. It's that didn't work out today. Let me try it differently tomorrow. Right? But some of us are so busy making excuses for why it didn't happen and justifying why it didn't happen, instead of just taking responsibility for it and saying, it doesn't really matter why that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So let me try something else. I have no idea how I got there from a newbie question, but yeah, that's where it went.
No, that was perfect. I love everything you said, because it's so true. Like, we put those expectations because like that's what we want. But like, I always think about, like, I always try, because that's something I'm really working on, like in my leadership. But I always think about, like, where were you when you were like 3 months into your business? Like, what were you thinking in your head in that moment? You know, and like that's what I always remind myself of. Because I mean, 3 months of my business, I was telling Shay that I was enrolling systems, which was like a 100 BV product, and I wasn't enrolling anything. I just wanted her to be proud of me, you know, like it's like one of those things. But and I hope that makes sense. But I really do
No,
love.
yeah. And I mean, to go on that, like I'm very passionate about this because I never felt judged by Erin, like who enrolled me. I never felt like pressure from her. I felt a belief from her. And those are two different things. She never once told me what promotion she was going for. I didn't know that my diamond promotion meant her presidential promotion. I didn't know that. She was just believing in me and talking about my promotion and believing in me. There was no like thermometer, and I'm not hating on those things. I'm just saying like it never was about her. It was always about, you can do this. I believe in you. And making it about me. And so I think that often like we're like, okay, I signed this girl. I think she's going to be really good. She signed a bunch of customers at first. And then we have this expectation because they signed 6 customers in 5 days that that's what they're going to do for the rest of the time. And so we're very disappointed when that doesn't happen. And then the opposite's true. Somebody hops in and they don't sign anybody and they're not responding to us. We already write them off within 24 hours. That's not the way we're supposed to lead or love. Right? And so for me, I go into it and I tell myself, I didn't sign a freaking customer for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks. And Erin never made me feel bad about it. Ever. Never once. I never felt bad. I mean, what happened is she actually gave me 2 customers and I was like, oh, hell no, this chick feels bad for me. This chick feels bad for me. Now I really got to do something about it, right? Because she gave me 2 customers and I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Like at the time it was a fast start and blah, blah, blah. But like, I was like, this girl really thinks that I like can't do it. Like she's like feeling bad for me. So she's giving me customers. And that's like literally what kicked me in the butt to be like, dang, I really have to like get my crap together and like show myself and her that I can do this and take it seriously. And so when I just did that, it was amazing what happened, but it was never like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, why aren't you doing this? Hey, whatever. It was just like, hey, let's do this. Let's do this. You got this. And then I would go to her freaking out because somebody said something to me or there was a negative comment on my post and she would call me or voice message me and she would just be like, listen, that happens to everybody. It's really no big deal. And everything that I went through was no big deal. And I never, not because it wasn't like she wasn't acknowledging my feelings, but because it happened to her too. And it made me feel normal. And so that's like my main goal when people start. I don't care where you start. I don't care if you're signing 10 customers, because I know those people end up falling off a lot. The people who jump out of the gate signing a bunch of people because they feel like they're on this high and then they can't ever recover because like nothing's ever good enough from there. So like I don't attach myself to people right away. I attach myself to the people who are consistently communicating with me. If you are consistently communicating, I don't even care if it's screenshots. Maybe it's just you're feeling awkward or you're feeling whatever and you're talking to me about how you're feeling or you're feeling hesitant or you're feeling, I want to walk you through that. And I appreciate the fact that you're communicating that with me. Because then I'm available to help coach you and I can coach you through those things, but I can't coach people on problems that I don't know that they're having. And so I think that if you're looking at, okay, what are the things that I'm not looking for in the correct way? Like maybe I'm like leaning on the wrong people. Maybe I'm enrolling rock stars that I don't even know I'm enrolling because I'm judging them too quickly, right? Maybe I'm writing people off too quickly. And maybe I've just attached myself to the wrong leaders based on their results and not based on their character. Because the reality of it is I can teach anybody to work this business. I can't teach anybody how to have commitment and grit and heart. Those are harder. Those take more time. Those are character issues that God has to work on. And so if I know you're enrolling 2 customers and I have Sally Sue over here enrolling 8 customers, I'm not just automatically going to choose Sally Sue. I'm going to look at who do I feel like I would be proud to introduce Mark Pentecost to. Who would I be proud to introduce my other leaders to? Who can I see coming in our leadership chat? Right? And it's not from a judgmental standpoint, it's just from a growth standpoint. Right? It's not like I'm judging you and like saying you can never grow to get to that spot if you're not that person. But maybe we're judging based on the wrong things. Maybe we're judging based on results instead of character.
Yeah, that was super, super good. Sorry. I didn't know if you were gonna keep going or not, but
No, you're good.
loved that so much. And like it just takes me back also to like when I got started and everything. And I mean, I had a fairly quick start, but mine was just kind of different. Like it was just kind of like an up and down thing, real quick. But it was whenever I was pushing for Emerald, and it was just Shay, just like it. She literally just said like, "Follow my lead," and that's basically just what you were talking about. It was just that like. I know this is kind of what you talked about a little bit before, but just like showing them what they need to know, you know? And I think once you just stop over complicating it and just stop overthinking it, which like that's we're growing in that stage because I tend to do that a lot. But I just think that's so so important. And I love that. So I guess these next kind of questions they kind of tie in together, like I was telling you. But I guess what would you just say to someone like maybe a new leader that came to you or something and was just like, how can I start duplicating things down to my team, whether that be like layered leadership, etc. But like, how can I just start with duplication?
Yeah, I think the reality is all leadership is, it's doing it, showing them how you're doing it, and loving on them. That's really it. It's doing it, showing them how you're doing it, and loving on them. Like, it's not a complicated thing. And I think that often we try to complicate it and we try to like put this label of like what a leader is on like ourselves or on like other people. And we're like, they're such a good leader. Like, you don't even know that person to say that. You're just like, oh, like she sounds really cool when she talks. Like, oh, but you have no idea how she's actually truly leading. And so, for instance, so if you want an example, so like when I bring somebody in, anytime I'm signing a customer and somebody's in their first 30 days, I screenshot them the whole conversation. Anytime. Because the reality is they don't know the flow of the conversation. They've never seen somebody sign somebody. Like they've never seen that happen. And so it allows them to be more comfortable with that because they can have all the scripts, but they don't know how to use all the scripts. It's like if somebody gave me a toolkit or a sewing kit, I'd be like, what? What do you want me to do with this? I don't know how to do this. You know, like it's like that. We think we give them a boards app and they're good. No, that'd be like giving me a sewing kit and something that's ripped. I would have zero clue where to start. Okay. Like I would not know. And so we have to like realize that like you can give them the best tools, but they also have to know how to use the tools. And that's our job, is to teach them how to use those tools. And so that's when I would say that. But I also do like a lot of like explanation coaching, meaning like somebody asked me a question of like, hey, what would you recommend? I do not just tell them what I would recommend. I send them a voice message and I say, these are the products I would recommend, and here's why. Like I always am taking it one step further because I want them to connect the dots at some point. And if I'm not giving them a chance to connect the dots, I can't be mad when they don't. Right? Like if I'm just saying TFX thermophyte or TFX thermophyte, the same thing, TFX greens and coffee. And they're like, okay, cool. Do you know what they're going to do every other time? Ask me. What would you recommend? What would you recommend? What would you recommend? And you know what I'm going to do? Why are you asking me this when you're 6 months in? Kelsey, well, it's probably because you never explained why you would recommend that. So they're not knowing anything other than to use the crutch they've been given. And so for me, I think that that's where duplication doesn't we miss the boat on duplication because we're not truly letting people into our minds, right? We're not giving them the insight of like, well, why did I choose that? Or why would I respond like that? Or why would I post something like that, right? We're just, here's the post, do it. Cool. Okay, now what? And then you're just sitting there and they're waiting for you to give them the next thing because they don't understand why they're doing it. But if they understand why, then they can act on their own. Right? If any of you are moms, I know you guys, a lot of you guys are probably younger, but it's the same thing. Like if I just told my kid, like, hey, don't touch your hand on the stove. And I don't tell them that don't touch your hand on the stove because I don't want you to burn yourself because that's really hot. And if you touch that, your hand's going to hurt really bad. Then guess what? They're just going to be like, oh, why shouldn't I touch the stove? I'm just going to go touch the stove because mom also tells me not to do that. And it's the same level for them because I'm not explaining it. You see what I'm saying? Like we're not giving people a chance. Yes. So I literally explain everything. I'm probably an over explainer and people always also get frustrated with me because they're like, can you just text me back instead of calling me? Because I'm always a caller. Like if somebody texts me a question, I just call them. Because I want them to understand my thought process, because duplication isn't tasks. Duplication is a way of thinking. If you just give people a list of tasks, you are building and creating followers. If you give people responsibilities and understanding, you build leaders. And I do this, like if Shay comes to me with a question about leadership and she's like, hey, what would you do that? Here, do you think that I can explain what I would do in 1 minute voice message? No, ma'am. Nope, you're going to call from me. Morgan now, every time she messages me, she prefaces it with, hey, I know you'll probably call me, but here's my question. Right? Like, because they know that like I want them to understand why I would respond that way or why I would handle the situation in that way and how I'm thinking about it. Because if they can understand that, then the next time they can understand what I probably would say.
That is so good. Sorry, I'm literally just kind of like frozen. It's fine. But no, like I love that because just with like leadership in general, there's so many times where I'm like, okay, before I call Shay, what do I think she would say to me? And I just like walk myself through that process. And it's so funny because there's even times where I'll FaceTime her and I'm like, hey, I know what you're gonna say, but like, can you just like walk me through it again? Like I just kind of need that, little refresher, but I love that so much. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Also, if any of you guys have any questions for Kelsey while we have her on, please put them in the chat. But I know this question was asked a few weeks ago, but just basically like I guess just tips on connecting with customers and just customer retention tips in general. I feel like everyone kind of does like little things differently, but I would just love to know what you do with like customers, etc.
So again, for me, it's like I'm like such a connector. Like I don't like to just have like I actually feel bad when I just have like 5 text message enrollments. Like I don't want to do that. Like I personally don't, because I want them to know that when they get their products, like they should call me, like, or text me, or reach out to me. Like you purchase products from me. Like I want you to know that like I'm your person. Right. And so a lot of times, like for me with retention, it's all about relationship. Like it's all about knowing that they're going to be taken care of, knowing that I'm honest, that I'm telling the truth, right? Like I'm checking in with them. So like Morgan long time ago gave the 222 tip. So like 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. And what that is essentially when anybody signs, I write their name down 2 days from now, 2 months, or 2 weeks from now, and 2 months from now. So 2 days is, hey, I just want to thank you again so much for ordering from me, and like a follow back thank you. Because here's the thing, anybody can say thank you in response to something, but when you double back and you say thank you, that meant so much to me. It's like after you went on a date and you don't know how the dude feels about you, but then he like hits you like the next day and he's like, I actually really had such a good time. Like you're like, aha, he loves me, right? Like it just gives you so much confirmation that like you're on the right track. And so I think that it just builds that extra level of trust just to do that 2-second message to the customers 2 days from then. And then 2 weeks is, hey, did you get your products yet? And then walking through like, have you opened your products yet? Right? Like those type of things. And then 2 months is just asking about the results. And typically my customers message me because of the work that I've done on the front end. Like I, again, am not the most organized bee in the bundle, but I will tell you that I do build really good relationships. And so people will always come to me. Like I've had so many people reach out and be like, hey, I know you're really busy. But like, I'd love to hear about the slimming gummies, or like, can you check on this for me or whatever. And so I feel really confident that my customers do that. And also like with host to post, like I've had a couple, at least probably 4 of my enrollments last month came from over the phone, because like people wanted to have a conversation about the products. Like they were nervous about maybe the products, like were they going to gain the weight back after the products they stopped using the products, you know, explaining in more detail the 90-day challenge. Like a lot of them just want to hear your voice, that you're a real person. So like for me, I'll do whatever I need to do on the front end to take care of them. And then that typically translates on the back end, but also making sure that you're checking up on them, that they're using their products very consistently. And by you showing yourself using the products, they're already watching you. That's going to remind them to take theirs too. So all of those things I think are really beneficial. And then just investing and like caring about their results and what they want. Like, hey, how many pounds? I also will, people who have like 30-pound weight loss goals or bigger weight loss goals, I always tell them that I'll send them a free wrap when they hit their weight loss goal.
That's really cool. I love that. So you just like send them a free wrap for hitting it?
Yeah, if they hit their weight loss goal, I'm like, dude, like we need to celebrate, and I'll give you a free wrap, because like you, like number one, you are going to have extra skin if you've lost 30 pounds, and like you're going to want to, like, you can lose all the weight and still not like the way that your belly looks and a certain area looks. And so like I want to reward you and cheer you on and give you an incentive to do that. So I'll send you a free wrap when you hit that. And I'll tell you, probably in the time, and not because nobody's hit their goal, but just because of like, I probably have had 10 people actually like in the last year do that. But like, it's them knowing that I'm in their corner, because I offer it to everybody. But like, it's just them knowing that like I'm cheering them on. Like I want them to lose the weight. Like I want their goal, and like I want to give them free crap if they hit it, because that's freaking amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I just stuttered. Sorry. I really love that. Thank you. Okay, so I guess the next thing that just kind of popped up for me was, do you do any, I guess, like a connect sort of follow up with like BOGO deals or pick two, pick threes, like any of those type of follow ups throughout the month? Or do you just do them for like special promotions, or if you're hitting a promotion, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just, and this is, could be wrong, but I really feel like a lot of people watch my stories. Like a lot of my customers watch my stories. And so like I have a bunch of people that message me like about a deal that are already customers after I talk about it on a story. Right. And in addition to that, what I've also noticed is like, I try to stick to like 6 to 7 products. Okay. Cause it's like Chick-fil-A, they're really good at the chicken. They don't try to do too much by doing like the hamburgers and all the other things. So like they stick to the chicken and it works for them. And so I think that sometimes we have so many products that it can be very overwhelming for people. And so like I just stick to like the core ones that I talk about typically on my story and publicly. Now, once people are already customers, then that's an open door because they already trust the products. Right. And that's when I will start to talk to them about the reds and about all these other things. Because to me, and maybe you guys have had, this is just my personal experience, I love the reds. I drink the reds or eat the reds and yogurt every day. I don't talk about them on my story because I have not had somebody start a 90-day challenge because of the reds. Right? I call it like your entry product. Like that is not the product where people are going to be like, ooh, I need that. I'm going to do it. Like what they need is the coffee. What they need is the slimming gummies. What they need is the cleanse. Like those are all entry level products, right? Where that's going to get them into the door. Now, once they're already in the door, it's cool. Right? Then I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, how are you feeling? And then we're going to talk about some of the other products. So if I've ever gone on like my, I think like twice I've talked about our skincare because I use our skincare all the time. I just don't talk about it because I think it's confusing. Okay. Not our skincare is not confusing, but like, well, it's like, when you go to Sam's Club and you're just overwhelmed because there's just like so much crap and you're just like, are you like is this like clothes am I shopping for? Am I shopping for gifts or games or phones or food? Like there's way too much. like it's like overwhelming. And so it's like, what is this, like a weight loss? Like I just want to kind of keep it with those 6 to 7 products and keep it very simple. So when I have gone on my story and talked about skincare, like if somebody's asked about it, then I'll go on my story. The only people who message me, probably about like 6 to 7, are current customers who didn't even know that we had skincare. Does that make sense? Like they're already like, dude, I didn't even know you had skincare. And like the coffee's already so good. Like, let me try that skincare. So I think that we can't underestimate, like my husband always says, because he used to be a basketball coach, the best players are the ones you already have. A lot of times we're already so focused on like recruiting new. And yes, that's important. You always have to have a team, but like you also want to focus on like the customers that you already have, because like I've had people who started out as ThermoFight X customers and now they order $300 worth of product every single month. And that part I think isn't talked about enough. And so that's not just retention, but that's really truly taking care of your customers.
Yeah, I love that. That's super, super good. But I mean, it's just the same, like, it's the same that goes with everything. And I think that's what's like, it's easy, but again, it's just one of those things that I feel like everyone just overcomplicates it, like myself included in that. So I love that. But so I guess I'm just again overthinking this. So like when you're literally just picking 6 to 7 products, is that like per day or is that just like your 6 to 7 core in general?
Yep, core
Okay.
products. So like, I mean, you guys probably all do the same ones. It's not like I'm making up a new thing. I feel like I used to feel guilty about being like, but I haven't talked about the reds, or I haven't talked about this, or I haven't talked about that. And it's like, I use a lot of products every day that I don't talk about. But when I realize like, oh, I don't talk about that because nobody's messaged me about hydrate. I freaking love hydrate. If they ever get rid of hydrate, I will cry and kick and scream like a toddler. Okay. But like, I will tell you that I just don't talk about it that much, because I haven't ever had somebody be like, oh, I need that. That's what I need. I need electrolytes. Like, I just don't think that that's like what people are looking for off the bat. Do
Mhm.
I have a ton of customers add that on? Yes. But what are they messaging me about? Weight loss, TFX, cleanse, greens, skinny brew, keto coffee, slimming gummies. Like those are the entry products that are going to get people in the door. And again, I just go back to Chick-fil-A. It's like Chick-fil-A, like they are freaking bomb at the chicken sandwich. So why are we trying to overcomplicate it? We don't need it. If they added in hamburgers, we'd all be like turned off by it. We'd be like, you guys, it's just probably too much. It's just too much. And so that's what I want. I want people, anybody they're trying to lose weight, Kelsey. Weight loss energy, Kelsey. Weight loss energy, Kelsey. I want a good chicken sandwich, Chick-fil-A. Do I think Cheesecake Factory is really good? Yeah, but I don't have one thing there that I'm like, oh, if I'm craving that, that's what I need. So I need people to know that if they're weight loss or energy, I'm their person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Yeah, I think that's really, really important because I know that's one thing that Shay's always told us from the beginning. And it's one of those things that it was talked about and then it was just kind of not spoken about, but everyone needed to know about it, what sort of thing. But it's just like when someone, like when you're speaking about it, you want them to think of you. And I think it's literally the most amazing messages when people out of the blue are just like, hey, girl, like I thought about losing some weight and I thought about you. And I'm just like, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Like that is amazing. And like those are seriously just my favorite messages to get. But so this is the last question that I have for you, unless anyone else throws something in the chat before we hop off. But basically our team's pushing for a huge goal within the next 90 days. We are going presidential dive-in. I'm so excited. It's been such a long time coming and such a journey happening, but I'm just super excited. So with that being said, we have a ton of girls that are just trying to make moves essentially just to keep it like, like I know you know what I mean. So I guess what are just your biggest tips to these girls that are pushing VIP, double, diamond, emerald, or yeah, double, you get me. Like what are just your biggest tips for those girls that are pushing super hard right now?
I think is like, realize that fire burns from the bottom. right? And when I say that, I mean, like, if you have a new distributor that takes off, that's going to ignite the ruby that distributor is under. And then that ruby is going to ignite the emerald. And then the emerald is going to ignite the diamond. And like, it's not a trickle down effect. It's a trickle up effect. Right. But I think that so often we focus on like these promoting legs, and they're so important, right? Like every person on your chart is important, but like, don't lose sight of the people who you might just get 6 customers out of them. They might join and there might just be like 6 customers and they're good and they're out, and that's okay. Like it's not what you would choose for them, but like that's their choice. Right. And so like, but don't discount them because they're not a ruby. Like get the volume from anywhere you can. And I think that, it's like lock arms and like run with the people who are running, and like all that stuff is great. And I agree. But like Jesus also left the 99 for the one. And so don't count people out because they're not going at your pace. Go at their pace and still know where you're going. Like you don't have to match their pace, but you can go back and be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? I'm over here running. Like, I'm good. Like, are you good? What can I help you with? Like, do I need to send you a post? Like, don't feel like, oh, well, if they're not bringing in 2,500 BV, then like, I'm good. Because every customer counts. Every customer counts. And that's one thing that has always helped all of my triple and above promotions is like, I always spent time with every person that was responding. I was never too busy to respond to anybody, because if you're responding to me, you still want this. You still want this. And so I'm not going to count you out just because you haven't signed a customer yet. I'm not going to count you out. I'm not going to say that I don't have time for you because I'm going for a promotion. Well, you're a part of my promotion. And the way the new charts are now, everybody's a part of your promotion, even if they're not on the chart, because you have to have a volume number. So everybody is contributing. And so don't just look at the people on your chart. Right. And I think that also knowing that like, don't work the list, right? Like don't just work the list, like work your business. There's such a big difference between that, right? Like you're a business owner. You're not tied to a list. Free yourself from the freaking list and make your own. If that's not working, if what Cheyenne's doing is not working, and she's like, hey, I think this is what I'm doing, this is what's working, and you're doing the same thing and you're not seeing the same results, you have a different audience. Figure out what's working for you and try something different. If you see that you're gaining a lot of followers from Reels and you're having a lot of success with that, do more of that. If you feel like, hey, I'm having a lot of success just messaging people. I didn't message people for a long time, and I just recently got back to messaging people. And I'm going to tell you, I'm seeing insane results from messaging. Like about being a distributor. Like I'm just cold messaging. But I'm going to tell you, because of stories and because of Reels, it doesn't feel cold. It doesn't feel cold anymore. If you are doing a good job on your stories and on your Reels and on your posts, you don't message cold. You don't cold message. You message people who freaking know you. They know you. So get out of your own way and just go message the people who are spending their time watching your stuff, because they might be too scared to ask you. There was a girl on a Zoom last night and she was talking about this and she gave this example and I was like, dude, this is so true. Like she was like, the mom that is crying herself to sleep at night because she's just disgusted when she looks in the mirror. Do you think she's going to have the confidence to message you? No, she's not. The person that's crying over their student loans and not feeling like they know how to get out of it, and they look at your life and you're doing all these things, do you think that they're going to feel the confidence to message you? No, they don't. You have to message them. And if you don't, they won't. So how many people are you leaving out there that you could be messaging, but your pride is in the way? Because you don't want to be one of those girls. Well, sorry, if she calls you that girl, then that's not who you're looking for anyways. That's not who you're looking for anyways. Because God is going to put specific people in your path that you're supposed to touch and you're supposed to impact. And guess what? I only got 5,000 friends on Facebook. And if you ain't one of them, move out. Move out. I don't have room for you anyways. So like, let me just go ahead and find the person that God wants me to find, because you're taking up room in my 5,000. And if we all had that mindset, you would just realize that all you're doing when you promote is helping more people, whether it's in the business, whether it's getting into the business, whether it's with the products. And so I think people will be like, oh, prepare for a promotion. And it's like, promotion months are like the most fun days of my life. Now, I won't tell you I love the last 48 hours because I don't. However, I love like the energy and the excitement. I felt the most alive, not when I promoted, but when I was going for a promotion. Because I was like, we're doing it, we're running, I'm running with people, like we're talking, where's the volume, we're updating all this stuff. And then you just have to get through the last like 24 to 48 hours. You just have to get through that and hopefully black out. So then you don't remember it. But like the rest of the month is not like, it's like miserable. It's fun. You're running after something. You're training for something. Like you are accomplishing your dreams. That should be fun. Slightly stressful, but fun. Ask any athlete. They'll say the same thing. Do you not think that the boys who played in the basketball tournament last night, do you not think that they were stressed out before that game? Mm-hmm. But do you think they would have said, I don't want to play this game. I'm too stressed. I don't want to go after this. It's too stressful. It's too hard. There's too many people watching. No. They're always going to show up and play the game, and so should you.
That was so, so good. I love that you referred to like calling it like blacking out and everything, because I've used that term so much. I just remember like whenever just talking to everyone, I'm like, I don't know, I blacked out going triple. Like I really don't know I blacked out. Like it was those last few days. I don't really remember, but I love that so, so much. I literally took like 3 pages of notes tonight. Thank you so much again, Kelsey, for doing this for us. I appreciate it so much. But I will be posting this